So I started my career in finance. So I covered everything from private practice to multinationals across 4 different countries. I was a CPA for a good portion of that, and I loved it. It was really great. I did that for about 13 years straight out of university, and I got to meet some incredible people. I got to travel. I got to learn some great different perspectives, and I lived in Italy for a little bit, and thank goodness I'd done HSC or A-level Italian, so that came in really handy. I always like to have projects. I was involved in the community, and my kids, anything that they were doing, I was kind of involved in, mother's group or sport or whatever. And also I've always been interested in fitness, so I did a certificate 3 and 4 in personal training, and I started up a little personal training business, outdoor fitness training. And then I could see that I loved being part of the transformation of my clients, so that they were making a difference to their mind, body and spirit. But I didn't want to be the person that was in charge of that. I wanted them to be in charge of their transformation. So then I dug a bit deeper and I became a wellness coach. So I wanted to help people to take those steps, to find out what was holding them back, to look at their limiting beliefs and where they want to head, and just clear things away. And so I did that for a while, and then it was just, there's more to this. So that's when I trained as a coach. So then I ended up being an executive coach. And I could see through my clients and my friends and myself that being a working parent or a professional working mother was really tough. So I saw a lot of people on the edge of burnout, and I just wondered what, the juggle and struggle, why it was so hard. And so that's when I started a market research project called The Wonders of Women Leaders. And I wanted to look at, how being a parent influences women's leadership style, and how being a leader influences how they parent, and what strengths they bring and build in both, and to find a way to navigate through the daily struggle and juggle. And that market research project turned into a mission and then a book. And that's where I am now. And I work with women who are, to help them understand the impact of the gender code in their own lives, so that they can step into their full potential, realise their full set of gifts at home, at work, and in how they contribute to society. And then also work with organisations to help them see the impact of the gender code on their organisations. So I don't know, that probably wasn't so brief, but hopefully you got the important parts.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting, Danielle, because it does show how you've pulled different elements of your life together and then taken you on a slightly different path. And I think that's wonderfully exciting. But I think probably the first thing I need to ask is what would you say, in a nutshell, is the gender code? What when you say, you want to break the gender code, what is the gender code? And then my follow-up question is, how do we go about breaking it? I know you've written a book about this, but can you condense it for us into some little pearls of wisdom?
Absolutely. So the gender code is that set of default beliefs that we all recognise about the natural differences between men and women, and it keeps the genders firmly in different boxes. And specifically, it prevents women from pursuing their dreams and achieving success. And we've all been programmed with this gender code for millennia. It's like a societal algorithm, but it does none of us any good, because it prevents all of us from stepping into our true potential at work, at home, and in how we contribute to communities. So that's what it is. That's in a nutshell. There's way more to it, but I think that's the short version.
Tell me, Danielle, how do you think we should move forward to address this issue of the gender code?
So there's things that workplaces can do to help with that. There's things in our communities. There's things in our families that we can do. And then there's things that we can do. So in the interest of time, the things that we can do, and I think this is where we can start the process ourselves and then become agents of change in all those other areas. So it is a big process, and I do, I go through it in a bit more detail in my book. But I've developed this framework called Quark. And so what we can do is we can question the gender code and then all the codes that we, live by, and our code that we've created for ourselves. So we question it, and then we understand it, understand the impact that it has on our lives and our important people. And then we can ask the question, does this make sense anymore? And make some choices. And then we can choose whether we want to keep parts of our code that we really value and we want to honour them and keep them. Is there parts of our code that we want to delete, that are just not useful anymore, and we want to say bye-bye? And then new parts that we want to create. And then if there are, we can create them. And when we learn how to code and build our own code, we can create our own unique code. And that's where I talk about moving from feeling invisible to being powerful.
Wow. I really love your emphasis on it's an individual thing, because what we don't want to do, I suppose, is replace one code with another code that is different but equally as limiting for women and men. So I love that emphasis on the individual and working out what's important for you, what bits you want to keep, what bits you want to get rid of, and taking your own strengths and building on those. So,
sorry, Lynn, sorry to interrupt, but just a really quick thing about that, and that's such an important point for any change, because sometimes, especially around gender, on this adventure, I've copped quite a bit of sort of negative attention from people around gender, because it can be very, a very sensitive, topic. But I think what I really want to get across is that first one around questioning and then also keeping, because the last thing I want to do is give the impression that anything or any part of our code right now, or anything that we've done in the past, is wrong. It's not. It's built. It's what we've used to build us to who we are right now, and this goes across all of our challenges. In life, in our country, in our sporting teams, whatever. There's no shame in where we are right now. Whoever you are and where you are is exactly where you need to be, and it's okay. But if you choose, you don't have to stay there. So, sorry, I just wanted to reiterate that point, because that's really important.
Really important point. Yes. Well, and now you've come to my last question, and you actually even hinted at it in that answer, and that is, as you look at 2021, we're sort of on this year, which is thankfully not 2020, but we're really not terribly sure what 2021 is going to look like.
Yes.
What is your goal for this year? What are you hoping to achieve this year in what year you like?
Great question, isn't it? And isn't it so interesting that I bet if you asked me the same question, if we went through this process last year, it would be a lot clearer. Like we'd have a different answer. And so I think, straight up, I'll just have to say, take each day as it comes, because we just don't know what's ahead of us. And something that a friend of mine said, we're only ever a moment away from chaos. So that's how I live every day. So assuming that there isn't anything that happens, or even, incorporating that into what I do, I see myself this year is working with organisations to bring more gender balance, to leverage the performance of the power of the high performing women that organisations already have, so that they can build their brand and increase their bottom line and be market competitors. And then also, what's the most dear to my heart is help women understand the impact of the gender code in their lives, so that they can step into their full potential and write their own code. So exactly how that's going to transpire, it's really hard to know. But that's my overall. At the end of the year, I'd love to be saying that that I've done that I've made inroads there, and to be speaking to people like yourself and these kind of events. To help, open up thinking and help people understand that, we all do have personal agency. We do. and we can access that when we know how.
Well, Danielle, that's been an absolutely fascinating discussion, and so many ideas to take away and think about, and that's what I love about discussions like these, is that they're not boxed and finished. There's actually lots more things that each of us can go away and think about, and I'm sure that all of the Hope for Justice supporters that are listening to this will want to go away and think about the things that you've said, and maybe hopefully buy your book, but more importantly, to do what they need to do in their own lives to help them to find a better place where they can really excel and reach their full potential. So Danielle, I really want to thank you so much for your time today, and look forward to engaging with you again on these important issues.
Thank you, Lynn. It was an absolute pleasure. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.